You can go ahead and get started. Welcome to today's webinar on adopting Office 365 in 30 days. My name is Anna Roach and I'm with eBiz Solutions. We are a global technology solutions company, but we're headquartered in Memphis, Tennessee. And this year we're celebrating our 15-year anniversary. eBiz is a certified Microsoft Gold partner, and we've helped many companies over the years to grow by helping them implement and customize various Microsoft technologies. And today we're going to discuss how strategically approaching your adoption process for Microsoft 365 will maximize your company's productivity. A couple housekeeping items I'd like to cover for the webinar. During the presentation, please feel free to type your questions into that Q&A tab down at the bottom there and submit those to us. We can answer them at the end of the presentation during our Q&A. So now I'll introduce our speaker, Sridhar Sankara. Sridhar is the CEO here at eBiz Solutions. He has degrees in architecture, city planning, computer programming, and he's got 22 years of experience helping organizations innovate their digital strategies. So Sridhar, I'll let you take it away.
All right. Thank you, Anna. Welcome, everybody. So this is a very interesting topic for us, as we have seen, especially from the time the pandemic hit. So many people have started looking back into what they already have, especially in the Office 365, and understanding how they can utilize Office 365 instead of having many other products that really pretty much does what Office 365 does. So what we thought and what we have started working with clients is like, hey, how do you adopt Office 365 and how quickly can you adopt, and what does it take to adopt Office 365 quickly? So we have this program called Adopt Office 365 in 30 days. So I'm just going to go over and talk about how generally we do and how it's easy for companies to start thinking in a different way, how they can bring in Office 365 adoption into their company. So as we have seen today's people, really employees need some kind of a purpose and satisfaction as they're working, and they want to be very creative. And especially with the pandemic, we have people working from anywhere at any time with any device. So the future and the success now really depends on how quickly can we collaborate, how can we share and drive the productivity being spreading across the globe. So we also know that as the business models are changing at different levels, at a customer level, with the customer channels, the relationships, the industry segments, the value proposition, how companies are giving from a service quality, cost and information perspective, and the capabilities, especially from technology, people, culture, information, how are we sharing that? And then profit models also have changed from just not buy and sell, but also you could have leasing models, right? The SaaS models, the service as software as service or hardware as service. There's so many new models that have come up now. So with that, and also as the customers are redefining the endpoints, right? So people can be anywhere at any place, but they're expecting this new digital presence and digital service at different locations where they are. So today, with the way the environment traditionally is, people are overwhelmed. Teams are overwhelmed with a lot of time spending about coordinating. They're trying to struggle, find, and so people are duplicating work multiple times. And then like a lot of times people are on top of things where their bosses need something. And so they're quickly trying to collect that information and spending so much time on just giving the information that the boss needs. So, and then like with all this, they're getting stressed and a lot of employees are getting disengaged. And then there's almost like a research done that shows like about $26,000 productivity loss per worker per year. So those are really things that are happening today. And the business problems today is about collaboration, communication, data collection, right? Automation of business workflows, improving efficiencies, work from anywhere, from any device, understanding, visualizing the data, showing like, okay, where we are, how things are going. And the big thing is about data security. How is data secured? Because people are working from anywhere, anytime, in any different devices. And also lack of having IT governance, because there's so many things technology is providing today. Since there's no governance, people are trying to use different things as they like, because they don't have a governance around the company. So Office 365 is really a suite of apps, right, that connect with each other, that can integrate with each other and pretty much solve a lot of the problems, right? Very powerful collaboration tools, very powerful security. And it is built for being efficient, right? From wherever you're working, which device you're working, it really doesn't limit you from anything. So you have a lot of possibilities with that. With that being said, because they have so much of the possibilities, companies now are getting confused about, okay, what do we want to use? Where do we want to start, right? So, and as you implement Office 365, different employees with the different mindset and different skill set start playing with it. But so because of that, we really don't have a certain things that across the board of the company, what do we want to use? How do we want to use? So what Microsoft has really done is it has come up with this, what they call loops and circles, just thinking so that you think out loud and say, okay, this, you can really think and say, okay, this is why I'm going to use this based on the context and what you're trying to implement, right? If you're trying to do something just for you, you want to write a document that's not just for you, you're not sharing it with anybody, or you are trying to share backup some of your own files, and you want to have like to do things just for you, just to remind us for you, or you want to just take notes and write notes somewhere digitally. That's when you think about, okay, this is my code. This has nothing to do with anybody within the organization. This is for me. When you think about everything that's going to revolve around you as an individual, you probably use Outlook, OneDrive, to-do list, and OneNote. But the next loop or circle we call is an inner loop, right? And the inner loop is where you're not really working with the overall company. You're working as a team, or you're working as a project, or working as an initiative. When you're thinking about those, if you think about, okay, I'm going to use messaging, constant talking with other people within my team, and I want to collaborate with them. I want to share files and documents with them, right? And I want to have like a quick online meetings with my team, shared calendars with them, right? So, and we want to track activity, who's doing what, and just a lot of communication going within the group rather than just trying to have a whole company or within yourself. When you are trying to do that, that's when you think about Microsoft Teams. That's when we want to start a team so that Teams will manage you with security, everything within it. And there's unlimited boundaries that you can collaborate, share, and work on within the security of that particular project. Where if you need like having calendaring, right? So tasks to be done, so you can integrate those with using Planner, and then rest of the Office suite like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, so you can use all of them within that group. And you can also use SharePoint and that group level at the organization level, but that would be like if you want to use SharePoint, you're thinking about you're going to use SharePoint that's going to be a little bit beyond the team, but it's consumed by more than the team, but the team is the one that's actually producing the content. And then you have this outer loop, which is more at an organization, across the organization you want to use. So that's where you want to think about the announcement at the organization level, events at the organization level, like so working out and ideas across the board on the company, social learning, right? So social engagement, like communities of practice and different practice areas, engineering, marketing, and also different interests, right? So it could be interest within the company that you might want to say yoga, or you might want to say bike riding or something. So you can have interest at a corporate level. That's when you think about Yammer's, which is now called communities, or SharePoint, which is huge for as an intranet. And then you use Dell, and then you use Stream, which is media platform that could be used again across the different, like from Teams to SharePoint, it could be used across the boundaries. And then you think about the open loop, which is outside of your corporate, right? So that is where you're thinking about your Facebooks, your LinkedIn, YouTubes, Twitter, websites, and all of those. So if you think about, when you think about a project or something, just think about along this lines so that you know that, okay, immediately you can use them. So just to put it in a different perspective, you can see it at the everyone level, you want to have a SharePoint internet, and probably for communities, you would have communities Yammer. At a divisional level, you will have a team site that is more for that division employees to engage and communicate and share and collaborate. And then you have SharePoint on the site at the same division level, but its consumption is done by across the board around, like other departments can also do. Like, for example, if it's a HR, then there could be HR policies, right? Or leave request form or expense report. So those could be documents or processes that is consumed by outside of HR, but it is developed by the HR. So in that way, you're using SharePoint for that. But if you're trying to do within HR, you're trying to write about documents or trying to engage within inside, you use Teams for it. And then if you're just using for a project, either it could be a project with the client or it could be a project internally, you could just use Teams, or with a client or just a work group or initiatives, you just use Teams. So how do you quickly start, and how do you get involved and have your adoption done very quickly so that people are participating before you scale Office 365? Because like I said, Office 365 is a huge, like ocean. So how do you do it, right? So you just need to think about planning. If planning is very important, and also thinking about what is your skill set and mindset within your organization, understanding the organization culture, right? So that's a very, very important piece. So what we have seen is it's the change is a more a behavioral change. It's not just about technology. It is about behavior. And also most of the people at a cutting edge organization also think about this as a behavior change, and it is change about the people. How are we actually helping people to change with new implementations? So from our experience, what we have seen is transforming any companies, it's change, you should not expect it to happen right away, right? And the more the leadership involvement, the more success any of those companies transformations happen. And starting from the beginning, you need to have goals, a very key, you need to have like key indicators what success means for you, right? So key performance index. So you start with that so you know that as you're reaching there or not. And then the most important thing we have seen is training and awareness. And every assessment we do when we launch this, when we do this implementations for companies, the first thing we do is send them a lot of assessments for the company, employees, for the leadership, for their department leaderships, but also we'll send a cultural and a couple of assessments. Based on everything we have seen in every company, the two things that stand out mostly is companies, people don't get proper training about Office 365 products, and they're not aware of the products properly. So they lack understanding of how each one of them work. So the main thing is, like, a lot of companies come in and they'll bring their IT and say, okay, now let's move to Office 365. And for IT, it is just a migration project. They're moving away from some existing product to a new product, and they just do it and they'll say, yes, now we are on a new product. That's it. So they don't really communicate the business aspect of it, right? And they're also, what we have seen is many companies that know that there are so many apps in here, but they still use certain things that they're familiar with from their previous jobs or from researching, they just get familiar and they'll use. So even though like a lot of things that the app Office 365 apps can do, people still use third parties that does two things. One is its productivity is decreasing, and then security and your learning curve for everybody to learn new different things, and that's outside of the products that you already have. It takes so much time and money and efficiency, and you're losing productivity. And then the other thing is technology is ready sometimes, but the user readiness needs to go hand in hand, which is training and awareness. If they go hand in hand, the project are successful. If they don't, then that's when it's going to be not as successful as you plan. So the 4 key areas is setting up the vision upfront, getting leadership, support from leadership, have a very strong training program, and the awareness like from different teams, which we're going to go into, and having the awareness programs around it. The first step in order to do a very successful adoption is building a success team. It shouldn't be 1 or 2, a project manager or a program manager, and just try to do it. It's not going to work that way. So these are like different roles that you want to have, and there could be people that fall under different roles because each of this role means something for the adoption, right? So having the executive sponsor, right? So they know that, okay, there is an executive sponsor to it. Success owners, it could be 1 or 2 people. Success owner is like, these are the people that ensure that business goals are realized from your Microsoft rollout. Program manager, thinking about the overall launch, execution, and rollout process. Champions, right? So these are the people that evangelize Microsoft 365. There could be anybody at any department level. And so that would be very, very important. Training leads, these are the people that are always thinking about training, who to train, how to train, what are the things that we need to train with, right? Where are the users, at what level skill set, so they can customize their training programs around it. Department leads, so that they can help us understand, right, for the departments how they need to implement, but also they will tell us the gaps that their departments have, their pain points within their departments, because they're not just working within their department, they have integrations with other departments, like operations might be very well connected to marketing or to sales, to accounting. So they will give us the pain points, understand it. Now you can align those pain points with the Microsoft 365 products. The IT specialists, just making sure the security, the technical aspects of them are rolled out with licensing and everything. The communication lead is the one that's helping to promote the awareness of what is coming, how it's going to change, how cool it is for them to really use it. And HR, again, is the process, the managing the content and everything, so that you have to make sure you're complying with your company's policies. The community manager, I mean, they're the ones that's managing the day-to-day Microsoft 365 networks. And then once you get into SharePoint, you probably want to have SharePoint site manager to manage SharePoint, because it's at the corporate level. Again, these roles are there because that gives somebody responsibility to make sure that adoption is being done and people are utilizing the way they should be utilizing. Because if you think about it, all of this is important, but there could be like 5 people that could do all of this, but still it is a responsibility that falls on the different people. So the management can know that where the failures are happening for the adoption. Again, before you adopt, think about what areas you're trying to work with, right? The yellow areas is the front end growth, right? That's whenever you do anything in that yellow spaces, that's where you increase your revenues, your market size, you're going into new markets. That brings you more revenue. On the blue side, which is the backstage growth, is efficiencies, being more productive with what you have. That is the activities, the resources that you have, and the partnerships you build. And that will be your cost structure, right? So that's how you want to think when you're trying to figure out what problems you want to solve. You can figure out which box does it fall, right? The gray area is your actual value proposition, what you're trying to do. So if you put that, you know that which areas you want to focus first, which areas you want to focus next, right? The priorities can come. Typical business pain points from sales and delivery, like collaboration. They want to do much with less, searching for content. Always salespeople are in the process where they try to send an old code, or they don't have the new latest code document. So they look for their emails and send something that's not the latest one. So we have so many complaints like that from a lot of salespeople. And they also want that employees are engaged. and IT, right? They have like, okay, they need to provide solutions, they need to have governance, managing the demands with the market demands, new technology, identifying new technology and see how they fit into the company. Finance, marketing, HR is cost reduction, getting the word out, the awareness, employee engagement, the collaboration. And at the executive level, it's about like, let me see what's going on. I want to see some data visualization, dashboards, right? Engaging with the overall company, the leadership message, so everybody knows what's happening. Those are typical pain points, what we have seen. And then when you go in, you want to organize about, okay, this is my pain point today. Where do I really want to go? So what is this thing? So you will think about what is the jobs to be done by saying that, okay, this is where I am. This is the problem I have, what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to use. So that's where I'm going to be successful. In this example, it's like a sales, having one single version of sales proposal. Okay, so you can use SharePoint repository where that's the only place where you always pick up a file, and that's the latest and greatest sales proposal that you have. You know that you're successful. You don't need to worry about. And it could be another one, a small like new employee onboarding. Okay, how do you onboard new employees so that we're not missing from one employee to another employee? So ease of automation of those using SharePoint. So these are the four major ones. If you understand properly in Office 365, it's going to be very, very successful. People confuse between this, My Documents, which is OneDrive, right? So if you're thinking about OneDrive, it is about you. It has nothing to do with anybody else within the organization until you say that, okay, I'm going to share this document with somebody just to collaborate, but I have the whole control. I can take the share later on tomorrow. I can take permissions off from them. So, and with OneDrive, it can integrate with your computer, tablets, or smartphone. So you have a copy everywhere. So it syncs. But this is only individual documents. If you go to team, it's about team documents. So it's about documents, collaborations, everybody with the team, they have equal permissions based on their permission level in teams, whether they're owners or members or guests. So this is where you think about real-time collaboration, real-time conversations, like team share, like screen sharing or document sharing and collaborating right away. And again, like you can use from anywhere, anytime with any device. Think about SharePoint as your corporate platform where you're publishing things that not too much engagement, but a lot of information that people would require. For example, things like birthdays, anniversaries, new employees, quick access to HR documents or company-wide calendar announcements from the company, right? So leadership message. So those are the kind of things that you're thinking about when you think about SharePoint. So all of them are important, but they have their own reason why you want to implement each one of them. And then you have like communities, which is Yammer. So you want to build communities, but also they can be integrated into your other systems like SharePoint and anything. So this four would really give you a very boost in the adoption once you understand them and once you organize everything in this. So when people think about the first thing about SharePoint is a file repository. People still use Google Drive or Dropbox or iCloud or something because they don't understand the document repository that comes with your SharePoint and Office 365. So once you understand that, and it has very, very strong permission control than any of the other products that you're using. But people need to really understand how it is all set up. So understanding that is one very important, and it's easy and quick, but if once you understand, you can utilize it very effectively. And understanding how SharePoint works as an intranet. So this can really give a boost to the company so that the people are engaged and coming and looking at, this is one of the samples of like Varsity brands here, how they use their SharePoint. And Teams. If you want to use Teams, it's a one-to-one chat, a group chat. You can powerful online meetings anywhere, like you can do quickly video call, audio call, or just share the screen or chat. So it's a very powerful online within a whole team so that Nobody's emailing, nobody's sending files back and forth. Everything is at one place. Nobody emails, everything, the discussions, the collaboration, sharing, everything happens at one place. The beauty about Teams is you can also integrate other 365 apps into it. And then the great security that comes along with it, rather than using Dropbox or anything. Again, like I said, the Teams comes with, you can integrate Planner if you're looking at any tasks that you want to manage. If you want to take meeting notes, you can integrate OneNote into it. Power BI to get data visualizations. Power Automate if you want to automate some of the processes within the Teams. And so you can have Visio, you can have Stream that records your video recordings and put it in Stream forms if you're trying to do any kind of surveys or anything within your Teams. And then you can use other Word and other apps right in your Teams. So Microsoft and everybody we push, it's not that using one is important, it is using together that is very important, right? That's why they call it better together. So you want to combine multiple things to work together. The most important thing in order for a successful adoption is governance. Because there are tons of apps here, everybody uses different apps. And so now, like if I might be using OneNote, the other person is not using OneNote, then there's no point. So we can't collaborate because the other person is not using OneNote. So companies, what they need to do is start with few apps first at a company-wide level and turn off the other apps. So people don't even touch the other apps, and give them a reason why they need to use a certain app at a certain type, right? So in that way, everybody is onboarded. Very few apps you start with, and then they're onboarded, and then they get accustomed to using those apps, and then you release another app if you feel like you need to add in one more different feature to it. So that's important. Like again, like creating those groups, like permission groups, and within SharePoint for data sharing, the repositories. How do you manage your guests? How do you manage which apps you want to approve? What are the meeting capabilities you need? Like you can also have within Teams, you can add phone numbers with an additional cost for licensing. So you need to think about, okay, do you really need Teams, or you want WebEx, or you want Zoom? You can get the same things through Teams too. And naming convention, because as you start using this, you need to have a very good naming convention. So it's easy to search for things, easy to remember how things are placed and where the things are. And you create first a data layer, say security layer, saying that this is how our company is going to work within the security layer. Like I said, you need to quickly figure out, okay, what is the KPIs that benchmarks you want in this 30 days? What do I want to see in this 30 days so that tells me that, okay, this adoption is successful and it is going in the right direction. You need to think about those. Think about, are we technical readiness checklist? Do we have a technical readiness checklist? The organization, is it ready to the adoption? So you can have different things within your checklist, licensing reviews, your admin, who is the admin, creating a file repository action plan, security groups. So there are multiple things that you put a checklist. And then you prioritize your business scenarios based on the difficulty of implementation and the impact that company gets. Based on this, you can say, okay, if I have high impact, less difficulty, let's go and do it right away so that it has a high impact. You're building your training strategy. So what is the training? Who needs to be trained? Which groups needs to be trained? This is where the training group comes in play. So they will set up like who needs to be trained, right? Who are the audience? What are the supporting organizations that they need? What are the key documents, key considerations we need to take? What productive tools we're going to train them? What is the technology literacy level that we are training? What are the training preferences? Are we going to do online? Are we going to do in person? How are we going to train them? And then top of it, you build the awareness strategy, right? Well, how are we going to do the awareness strategy? Is it the email campaigns? Are we going to put like big posters at break rooms or at entrance, whatever? You need to think about how are we helping them to aware that this is what's coming. And how do you like to communicate with them? So you need to come up with that plan. And this would be the push, right? The early adopters, you need to see who would be the early adopters in the company. We just recently finished for one of the organizations where the marketing department was their early adopters, and they were using about 6 or 7 different apps and different other third-party tools to get the job done. So we went and focused on them and look at all the jobs, and then we brought Office 365, especially we did SharePoint for their department, but the big part was the teams training within the department, brought everything that they're using from a third party into a teams that their whole team could work, and done like integrated some of the apps like OneNote and Power Automate, tasks planner and all. So they became the early adopter, that they went and started presentation to their whole company saying that how they moved away from all these third parties into one Office 365, and how seamless it is because it's one login, everything is one, everything is at one place. The data that you collect from there gives you very good analytics of how engaging the people are within that. And the champions program is, again, they're like early adopters, but more they're somebody that's enthusiastic and allowed to tell people about like how well this thing can be done, and what is the purpose. And so we need to think about, okay, what are the materials you want for this champion, have like a champion program checklist, and then that would really help push everything and the adoption very well. And once you do it, you definitely have to celebrate the success. So people are starting to recognize that they can start using this new, and the new product is successful. So now you start adding more to it. It's going to be easily adopted. So that's pretty much about how quickly you can adopt Office 365. So I want to just go to the next few slides talking about eBiz, and we are just a trusted guide that we guide companies to reach their digital excellence, and them being the leaders in their industries. And then we have a unique way of how we help companies in the adoption of Office 365, which has been like, this is something that we're getting so many requests pretty much on a daily basis from different parts of the country, and we're helping a lot of companies to do this adoption. So we have a very simple plan how we do it. So we do like a discovery call, and then we bring in the client. So we do assessments, understanding the company, their structure, and then based on it, we know where they fit in as a baseline, and come up with different business units, brainstorming sessions, pain points, and first letting them not only just a consulting, but the moment this 30 days is done, they are utilizing it. One, they do the document repository, they move everything from Dropbox, everything into one place, understand how the permissions works, understand how to they share files and with the permissions, and how they need to add new folders, new files, and then manage the permissions at different levels. And we help them understand bringing projects and initiatives into teams, so that they work off of teams rather than multiple places trying to share and put documents at one place, emails another place. So instead of that, bringing them into teams, creating few teams templates so that they don't have to remember every time when they create a project, they have to add all these components. And then we also help them to train everything so that they are completely trained, so that they can go and train the rest of the people. So as many people they want to be trained, so they will get training, and then implement a SharePoint home site first, a home page, which is very important about that, is bringing the culture, things like birthdays, a leadership message, new employees, work anniversaries, quotes, corporate calendar, quick links to documents, or different, like for example, their payroll, if they want a quick link, they will take it from there. And any other things like a small event expense report or something, some of the automations, workflows that could be done. Along with that, we provide a complete roadmap because we understood their pain points and what would it take, right? What are the different digital transformations that they can do and automations within the Office 365 product line, and also integrating with existing if they have an ERP. How do we connect those, but still you use your Office 365 to do the dashboards and everything. So that's our program that we have that we do right now. So with that, I mean, like if you have any questions, I can answer any questions.
Sridhar, one question that we get periodically is about how much does the guided assessment cost for companies?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, again, like this, our 30-day is pretty much around like between $5,000 to $6,000 based on the company size. So that will